In this video, I'm going to go through and demonstrate the various filter types that Zebra2 supports, and I'm going to be using a modified version of the initialize patch. I have an oscillator 1 set with 11 for the wave stacking, and then also detune is increased considerably. So this sounds sort of like a super saw type sound. So let me go ahead and play that. And I have span here also, so let me move Zebra2 over here and then span here, and then this way we can see both the filter settings and the resulting spectrum analyzer display. Now I also have noise in this sound as well, so let me bring that in. And that way we can hear some of the higher harmonic type. Actually, if I disable the noise, the noise will just add some high end to the overall patch. So now what we can do is just go through and look at each filter type. So if I click on this, LP Excite, that's a 24 dB slope filter. And the important parameter, we looked at resonance before. For this video, I'm going to focus on changing the cutoff frequency as well as the drive. And I may change resonance a little bit, but I won't be focusing on that. It's more the drive parameter, because that really gives each filter, or that changes for each filter. So the effect that the drive parameter has on each filter is different, and is where each filter's character can be more pronounced based on the patch that you're working with. So let me just demonstrate LP Excite. So what I'm noticing is with the drive parameter, LP Excite is sort of like a harmonic exciter type filter, and what it does is it boosts the upper harmonics in the sound. And so if cutoff is too low, then the effect of drive, even at maximum, isn't as prominent as we hear it when our cutoff frequency is higher. So let me demonstrate that again. And then I'll add the noise. The noise makes it a little easier to hear what that drive effect is doing. Now let's go to LP All Around. This is a 24 dB filter slope, low pass filter, and let me go ahead and demonstrate this. Can really hear more distortion with that. It's pretty cool. try it without noise. Okay, let's go to LP mid drive. This again is a 24 dB per octave slope, low pass filter. And let's hear how this sounds. Okay, and let's look at LP old drive. Okay, this filter actually supports a concept called self-oscillation. Filter will oscillate when resonance is boosted, and it will oscillate at the cutoff frequency. So let me demonstrate that. I'm going to bring cutoff all the way down, drive all the way down, and resonance, I'll just bring that up. In fact, let me get the cutoff fairly low. And just to check that self-oscillation, I know it's one of these. If the filter supports self-oscillation, then it doesn't even need an input. So let me disable both of these. Yeah, it looks like this one is not self-oscillating. So let me check that real quick. Okay guys, what I did was I just went and consulted the manual, and there's another filter mode that supports self-oscillation. So I'm going to just jump down to that one, which is LP Vintage 2. Because I brought this concept up, that way I can go ahead and demonstrate it right now in the video. So let me bring the cutoff down again. And in fact, just have the cutoff about here. And then what I'm going to do is bring the resonance up, and full resonance, the filter will actually be generating the sound even though we don't have any oscillators over here. Or maybe it does require an input source like noise. Let's check that out. Sometimes the way the synths are implemented, the soft synths, sometimes they will require an input source. So that's an example of self-oscillation there. And it wouldn't matter what the input source is, it would sound the same. But we do hear some of that other sound, the source sound, oscillator 1, coming through that filter. So you can play with that. It's pretty cool. And then let's see. Let's go back to how I had it set up with the noise, and then we'll go back to LP old drive and examine this one again. Pretty neat. So let's go to LP Formant. So this will actually, this acts as a what's called a Formant filter, and this is how vowels are formed. So we're dealing with human speech, and if I bring the cutoff, well, we'll leave cutoff at high, and then noise actually makes it pretty neat. So let's go ahead and listen to that first, and then I'll bring oscillator 1 in. The formant is the amount that the filter is acting as a formant filter, and then the vowel is which vowel sound it's trying to make. So it's an A, E, I, O, or U sound. So let's listen to that. Okay, kind of cool, kind of creepy in a way. Notice the frequencies that are affected by the filter. It's pretty much cut out all the low end and high end, and it's really just dealing with that center mid-range area where most speech occurs. And then if we look at oscillator 1, if we bring that in and use it, so you can kind of produce speech type effects with this filter. Then the next one is LP Vintage. And then we saw LP 12 dB and 6 dB in the previous video, but I'll just demonstrate them quickly. Okay, now let's look at the band pass. So let me just freeze that and I'll explain this briefly. So the band pass lets a frequency band, pass through the filter. So in this case, the cutoff frequency is centered right around this region of the frequency spectrum, and the high end is being attenuated and the low end is being attenuated, and we see that roll off. Okay, and I believe it's a 12 dB slope. So let's see if we can look at that. From 2 to 4K, it's basically an octave. Okay, 2K to 4K. So that would be 3, 6, 9. That looks like about, it's hard to say with this particular graph, but let me check the manual real quick. The user manual indicates this is a 12 dB band pass filter, 12 dB per octave. So let's check. let's just listen, and I'll experiment a little bit with that drive parameter. Okay, and let's try BPQ band. So this would be a bandpass Q band. Let's check it out. So what's interesting about this one is if I increase, well, first it doesn't have a drive, but if I increase resonance, watch what happens. So that increase in resonance narrows the band of the bandpass filter, so it lets less and less through. Okay, let's look at the next one. High pass 24 dB. So the high pass filter is the opposite of a low pass filter. High pass filter lets anything higher than the cutoff frequency pass through the filter. In this case, it's a 24 dB per octave slope. And let me try the HP 12 dB. Okay, and then the band reject notch filter. This is sort of the opposite of a bandpass filter. This will allow filters outside of the band around the cutoff frequency to pass through the filter, and it will actually filter out the band right around the cutoff frequency. So if I play this, you can see that the cutoff frequency is right around here, and this band is being rejected by the filter or filtered out, and then on either side of the band is being allowed to pass through the filter. And as the resonance comes up, that band gets narrower and narrower. Okay, let's go to EQ peaking. This is sort of like one of the filters in an EQ, okay, or parametric filter. So if we look at like node 3 here, we have a gain control, we have a frequency control, and we also have a resonance value or a bandwidth value. So let me take that out, and we have the same thing up here. We have the filter cutoff frequency, the resonance, and a gain control. So let me demonstrate how that works. So you can see how that resonance control was affecting the bandwidth around the cutoff frequency. EQ low shelf. Okay, this is a low shelf filter, basically similar to this low shelf filter over here in the EQ. So that would allow us to boost the entire low end below the cutoff frequency. And then high shelf filter. Actually, let me demonstrate that with noise. It's easier to see it. And let me change the slope for this guy real quick. So if I set the cutoff about midway, without any gain, that would be the level of the noise, okay? But as I bring the gain up, you'll see the lower portion of the shelf be raised. Okay, and we can also have a negative gain, which would cut it. Alright, let's look at EQ high shelf. Same thing, but it works on the high end frequencies. Anything above the cutoff. Alright, let's look at the all-pass phaser 4. This is basically a phaser type filter. It's an all-pass filter and it ends up achieving a phasing effect. And all-pass phaser 8. Let's bring in oscillator 1. And if you read the manual, you can put the filter in parallel with oscillator 1, and I can change the input to input 1 to demonstrate this. It ends up giving more of a phasing effect. Versus when it's in series. Okay, and then LP Vintage 2, we looked at that one earlier. And then finally, this is called SR Decimate, and what it will do is it will basically reduce the sample rate of the input. Let me change the slope on this guy. And drive and resonance don't do anything for this filter mode. So that's it. That's it for the filter review, and I will see you in the next video.